All right, recording live from somewhere. Okay, so this is Zach LaValle, and I'm with Dan Miller. And today I'm I'm sitting in my car with a light that keeps going on and off. So we'll see how that works out. Um, but yeah, we wanted to get on here and share a little bit about what we've been doing for the past. How long has it been now since we've been doing this?
Mm, like more than 2 years, maybe 2 years ish.
2 years ish. I deleted my old texts, so I don't have the original. I don't have
Mm,
the text of when we started doing this.
yeah,
But for the last 2 years, we've been doing something called Church of Two. If depending on where we're playing this video, you may know what that is. But Dan, do you want to describe that for the people out in the world?
Church of Two. Um, it's just kind of a daily practice rhythm of basically three things that are checking in, um, sharing how you're feeling, what's going on with you. Um, Number two, what Jesus is talking to you about, or collectively what Jesus is speaking to you, um, as a duo, as a group, and um, and then harvest prayers, which is where Luke 10 to b. That's Jesus send workers into the harvest. So that prayer is a part of your rhythm as a church of two as well. Just praying like, Lord, send workers. Also an awareness of like, God, are you sending me? And just kind of a missional awareness, I would say. So basically those three things, and trying to practice those together.
Nailed it. That was
I try.
so beautifully crafted. Uh, so yeah, and so we've been doing it for 2 years, and um, yeah, I think I was just gonna quickly share how it started. We were friends in college. No, we weren't really friends in college. Like I knew you.
Mm,
We kind of like knew of each other.
friendly-ish.
Friendly. We were friendly. We had a small college, Bible college, and then somehow I forgot how we got connected. Actually, I think our wives were hanging out. Was that what happened?
Yeah, it was the Young Living stuff.
Yeah, they were doing oils business things, essential oils. And then we started getting together for coffee every so often. But yeah, I remember I took the course, the Luke 10 course that talks about the Church of Two, and part of the thing is to pray that 10 to the harvest prayer you're talking about, and to pray for someone to do Church of Two with. And I was like, all right. So I prayed very simply, and then it was like that day or the next day you had texted me about something very similar to this like expression of church, and I was like, that's hilarious. So you came over, we had coffee, and I mentioned Church of Two, and you didn't want to do it. You said, I think you told me you you went home and you were like, not initially, you didn't really want to do it, I think, right?
I don't I don't know. I'm not remembering right now.
I'm remembering. I think you were like just like leery of committing to like a thing.
Oh yeah.
And
I
then
thought
I
it'd be
think,
like another accountability, like small group type
yeah,
thing that I'm not really getting much out of.
yeah, yeah. And then you texted me like that night, I think, and you were like, I think you said that. And you're like, I was initially not really thinking I would do it, but I felt like the Lord was like, do it. So, and we
because
set up.
because one of your things was just like, just ask Jesus, like be Jesus led. Like if he's leading you to do it, then like go for it. So I was like, well, I can ask Jesus. I think I trust Jesus' opinion on this. So I think
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah. And then we started, and we were like, we'll just try, like, I think we said we would do 30 days. And because right away, like right off the bat, we are like, the whole idea of checking in is to be like, we're just honest. So we are like, maybe we'll hate this. So in 30 days, we'll see. And maybe every 30 days, we can kind of touch base and see how it's all going. And yeah, that was 2 years ago.
Wow.
That's weird. It's really weird. So yeah. One of the directions we're going to go in the video, hopefully, is we wanted to talk about 2020, because we started early 2019 doing this, and then 2020 happened, and so much happened. And
Mm.
2020, this last year, has been famously polarizing and famously kind of like detrimental to relationships and really pulling people apart. So I want to get into that in a second, but first, is there anything like, um, what have been some of the big takeaways? Maybe, eh, maybe not including 2020 specifically, but like takeaways or things that I don't know, key benefits or takeaways from CO2 growth moments, things like that, or maybe like bad things. I don't know.
Mm.
Anything?
Yeah. I mean, checking in has been huge, really huge for me. Um, and checking in is kind of like it's like a self-voluntary, uh, like you said, you're just being honest, you're being open, you're being transparent, and then thinking through like the sachet, like I'm, what are my feelings? Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I, am I happy? Am I excited? Am I feeling tender? And like getting like this new vocabulary basically, where it's like most of my life, it's like, how are you doing? It's like, fine, good, you know, okay, not so great. There's no there's no real like descriptive words for like how I'm actually doing, how I'm actually feeling. So like that practice forced me to gain a new vocabulary, to get in touch with like what's going on inside of me, um, and to do that regularly, not not only for myself but with someone else, doing that with Zach. And just sometimes it's great, sometimes that's hard, um, because there's stretches where I'm pretty sad, um, I'm frustrated, um, and those emotions kind of had these like negative or almost evil connotations in my mind and maybe in my spirituality. So coming to terms with like being okay with the emotions God has given me, um, being okay to offer that in our interaction, our connection, and and just like let it be and not worry so much about what Zach thinks or if he's judging me or the I don't know, just the self-consciousness that comes with that. So I feel like checking in has been real big for me. It's been very like an expansive type practice that's leaked its way into so many areas of like my marriage and like my prayer life and um, even just like interactions with other people where I'm able to like offer how I'm feeling and try to draw out how they're feeling. So there's deeper connections going on.
That's good. Um, yeah, that's actually a big one for me. Oh, that's good. I should jump on that. um,
Yeah.
but I might. Am I gonna do that? No, I'll do mine. Um, so I think a big one for me is just like because it's every day. Um, there's like there's just this like energy. There's like this God energy that's like constant. Like I don't mean energy in like a weird way. Just um, like I'm listening to Jesus, and then on the days that if I'm just kind of like not listening to Jesus and going just like kind of like in a fog or whatever, we're still checking in, and I'm hearing like I don't. I guess the presence and movement of God is constant. Like, and I see it all the time. Even if my day is kind of like whatever, and I'm not quite noticing it, but then when we pause and we're checking in, and I'm just paying attention to what's going on with you, I'm like, oh, I see God again. So like it's a constant. It's this constant
Hmm.
reminder. It's like the person to person version of prayer almost. Is that weird? I don't know, but like yeah, just like that constant attention paying um
Hmm.
has been really cool and energizing, and um yeah, so it's like I don't know. And then but also to jump on what you said, the how it kind of bleeds over into other relationships, because you and I have like it's like a strict, not strict, but it's like a set thing. We know what we do, we check in. You mentioned sachet, which is an acronym: sad, angry, scared, happy, excited, tender, which is like just like some suggestions for describing what's going on inside of you. So we have that. We whatever, we talk through it. But then like I'll be with somebody else, and they'll say, "How are you?" And now, depending on like the context, I might stop and be like, "I'm really happy," and I'll try to like explain and let that deepen the conversation. And a lot of times it reciprocates, and it's like they see me doing it and they're invited into it. And I'm not like, "Hey, you
Hmm.
want to check?" I just um it's kind of like we do it, and then I'm modeling it to somebody else, kind of organically, and then so it deepens other relationships too. So anyway, that's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So any last thoughts on that?
Um, no, and then out of what was happening with us, I
Wait,
ended up like,
my foot fell asleep.
wake up.
My light's turning off. There's a mess over here. Okay, go ahead.
Like out of what was happening with us, that kind of started to spark things with some other people, and I had like mini churches of twos with a couple different people, whereas like for one of them lasted like a year, almost a year of us kind of practicing these rhythms together, and that was different, and that was like interesting too, where it's like I'm checking in with you, and then I check in with him, and then I'm like, okay, I can't just. It forced me to like try to articulate what's really going on, like what's happening to me, what Jesus is doing, in like in fresh and vivid ways, and in ways that were like unique to each relationship. So like sometimes it would be like I would do, because Zach and I do like a Marco Polo where we just send like each other short videos. Um, so I would check in with you, and then I would check in him right after, sending him a video, and I'm like noticing myself. Okay, I'm kind of just basically saying the same thing I said to Zach. So like sometimes um, it was challenging and it was good, and it sharpened those skills in a different way because um, the relationship was different
Hmm.
with the other guy I was doing the church or two with.
Like were you learning to like contextualize you for the for the other person?
Um, yeah, yeah, I was, and like because like he was a single guy, not married, um, And so I definitely had to explain maybe certain things, like if I'm checking in about how my kids were really nagging me and that like that upset me, or something happened at home, like I have to explain that, or like, yeah, just say things in a way that he catches and maybe he would um resonate with without sugarcoating it or without being false or something.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Yeah, I could say so much about this, but I guess we can move on to the next thing. Um, how many times has my light turned off so far? 3?
I don't know.
I've been like subtly rolling my little light dial to keep it on. Like, there it is. Um, if there's any audio versions of this out there, my I'm in my car and the car light, the interior light keeps going on and off, so it's like it's a fun little light show. Um, okay, so 2020 happened, and yeah, a lot happened in 2020. I maybe you have some moments yourself. I think I'll start and kind of share a pretty a more raw one from this past year, which like obviously you were there. So um, the I was on the road. We didn't live near each other anyway. We lived about an hour and a half from each other when we lived in Massachusetts, and you're in Connecticut. But then I got on the road in the RV with my family, and we traveled. It's been 10 months now, and that was all during the pandemic. And couple months into the pandemic, that was when everything with like George Floyd was killed, and everything that happened from that point, that became this like a watershed moment in our culture and in our world, in politics and and in conversations among friends. Um, and anyway, so we yeah, that happened, and I was trying to kind of make sense of it. I was sorting through how I felt about kind of like the broader narrative about it, as far as like what uh, um what Black Lives Matter was trying to push as like this really broad um narrative or perspective or whatever. and so I was like, I was kind of like maybe a little, I'm not sure, I was skeptical, I guess, of the movement as a whole, and and like grieving police brutality and angry about that. But yeah, so I was kind of like, I was angry at the movement, and what I felt was people um taking certain events and turning it into something, a bigger narrative that I wasn't quite on board with. So then we were checking in, and you were really angry. Um, do you want to share kind of like, is this raw? Is this too raw? Should I cut this?
No, that's good.
um, so that's where I was. I was kind of like, I was listening to like Thomas Sowell and guys that were very critical of Black Lives Matter, and um, like Ta-Nehisi Coates and stuff. Like I was kind of like, okay, and kind of like sorting through that, and then we're checking in. Anyway, you go ahead.
Yeah, and I was probably awakened in a fresh way to like to racial injustice and like what what is the church's response, what is my response, um and then just that kind of that got me into like this a mode of like reading, research, listening, watching, like trying to dig into like the history of racism, in America. Um, and then so I mean that's a painful process. I think it's just like just there's a lot of terrible things that's a part of our history. So it's like there's anger and sadness and confusion, and um, I don't I didn't necessarily have like um, somebody who's like helping me navigate everything, or who's like ahead of me and who's like, all right, this is your next step, Daniel. It's all just kind of like current events, but and like reading into all of these things, all this topic of like racial justice is very disorienting, um, and can be confusing. And so I think I was definitely bringing that into our checking in together, and just our relationship. And here's how I feel today, man. I'm just like I've been seeing what's on the news. I'm reading about history of like how the church has responded, or more so hasn't responded to like these like racial injustices, and I'm just like I don't even know what to say. I just there's so many moments just up and down. Um, so I guess that's where I was at, just like grappling through that, trying to like get some footing, some foundation on like what's my position, and like how do I walk this out as a follower of Jesus. Um, and then in the middle of that, like you're kind of reading some of the other side of things. So I'm reading more of like I don't know. I wouldn't say I was reading like Black Lives Matter, their sources, but I'm probably my sources were probably more left and your sources were probably more right. And we're
Yeah.
like, okay, something's going on here. There's a little, and it was like for a while I felt like as a person who really doesn't like conflict and who's like kind of has tended to avoid it, I would just like I don't know if I really want to know what Zach really believes about this stuff, because like if I find out he's on this side and I'm on this side, like is that going to throw things off? Are
Yeah.
we? Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a moment, a really very like we use that word tender a lot in CO2, but like in this not in a good way. Like I was like I feel like I got my booty kicked. I'm trying to censor myself. I don't know where this is gonna be. Um but like emotionally just wrecked, and I was seeing so many people that were pulling away online, like pulling away from each other and saying, if you don't do XYZ, you're not my friend, and this and that. And I was like, I remember one day I sent you the message, and I was like, I was like, I don't remember exactly how I worded it. The way I remember it is I was like, I'm scared that that our a year and a half of friendship and church of two and joy, attachment, is about to get exploded. And I said, I don't know if this is gonna. I'm afraid this isn't gonna like our friendship won't survive this. Uh, yeah, and I still like I can still feel the fear and the sadness of those moments. And yeah, and I remember like we didn't really like do any big interventions. I remember you saying like uh because you were still raw, man. Uh and you were like, well, we'll just do little bits, like we'll just kind of we'll just dip our toe in and we'll check in and listen to like keep doing what we've been doing, and but just kind of like if we need to be cautious for a little while. I don't remember how you worded it or how we talked through that, but yeah, it was that was a hard I'm still feeling it right now. Like, whew. I took a breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt I almost like didn't want to know what you believed on the topic at one point. I'm like, I don't know. Like I was very curious because like we kept hinting at certain things in our conversations and like, okay, get a little bit here, a little bit there. But part of me was like, I don't really, I don't know if I want to like go down that trail, but it was becoming so important to me, the topic, and just like something that God was burdening my heart with. I'm like, I can't let this just be I don't know, a two-dimensional relationship, or whatever. It has to be more than that. And so, like you said, I think I don't even know if we've had like full blown out conversations on everything, but it's like there's been a freedom to share as much as we want, um, and it, yeah, it's a we're still on a journey together, I guess you
Yeah.
could say.
Yeah. And I like so we you were sharing some of the like books and authors that you're reading, and I think I sent you a couple videos that I was watching. So we were able to kind of like reach across a little bit and and hear each other's perspectives or even just the things that we were pondering, and so that was cool. And I think but yeah, it probably took time. I think we kind of like trickled in um but yeah, I think because of our close friendship and um and seeing your grief, uh, it wouldn't allow me to do what like it was so easy, especially with like social media. It's so easy to kind of like you find your this like safe tribe and just go there. Um, and but I was like, I can't just. So it helped me to stay engaged with the things that were weighing on your heart. Like you're my friend, and something is grieving you. Um, so I can't just disengage or demonize your perspective. So anyway, but it was months and but yeah, and now after it all, like I mean, what is after? I don't know. Is it still going on? Is 2021 just the sequel? Um, but I feel really enriched and much more like I feel very balanced. Having stayed in, um, like stayed relational uh, through through that really intense time. Um, and yeah, it helped me to kind of come out the other side, not tribalizing, not polarizing, and kind of I
Mm-hmm.
just in the middle, like where we're kind of back. I'm listening to Jesus. I'm checking in. I care about the gospel and the kingdom, and that has a lot of different expressions. And another thing is you invited me to a group that you were doing, and we don't have to get way into that, but the topic of the group was a lot of this just oriented conversation, racial justice. And I was like, I don't know if that would be a good idea for me to be in that group. And you were kind of persist like kind of insistent that I be in the group. And I remember you said, I don't remember what exactly you said, but you're saying I think it'd be valuable for your voice to be in the group. Um, so I yeah, so that meant a lot, and it kind of built even more of that joy, that relational joy, to be like, well, I guess guess Dan is glad to be with me no matter what. So yeah, so that meant a lot.
Yeah, it for me, it's been almost like puzzling. I'm like, why are you supporting me and this like group and um when your opinion on the matter is different, or like your perspective on how like you know maybe what are the issues and like what's the remedy may be different, like, and so it's like wow, like there's a lot of differences there, but it's like I don't know. I feel like you're probably one of the most supportive people in the groups, even though like our like philosophy of the and like justice is maybe different, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
So so it's been very interesting.
that's funny. Yeah, so yeah, it's been really enriching, but um, I forgot where I was gonna go from here. Any thoughts?
Um, and I think like Church of Twos trained us to speak on the level of the heart, and um, which is important because I think I guess everything we do touches our heart. That everything is not solely like cerebral or just information oriented, especially with justice, and even this mixes with politics, which is what everyone tells you never talk about. These kind of things. Don't bring these things up. These are not popular like dinner conversations. But like even with like these can seemingly volatile topics, like us being trained to like speak at our heart levels and like know each other's heart, um I think equipped us, because I was my emotions were heightened like during this time as I was like navigating this, and so it was like but but the connection was still what it was, and like the tools were still, they still worked, I guess, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
The checking in and being honest with where I'm at and vice versa, it still worked, even though it seemed like, man, my the anger or the sadness was more explosive during that period.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it was a good year.
We made it.
Yeah, well, I was talking to someone a few days ago, and they said something about how the year, I forgot how they said it, but it was kind of like there was a sense of God being quiet or absent during the year. And obviously I just expressed, you know, I was just listening, didn't didn't say anything, but in my head I was like, I saw God everywhere this year.
Hmm.
Like I felt that he was very rich and active, and but I mean I understand what they're saying, because
Yeah.
it was very difficult. 2021 or 2020 was wild, and there was a lot of grief and sadness and overwhelm and despair. Where's my light? And the whole a very broad range of all of, like, the heaviest emotions that we can experience, and but at the same time I think that being able to stay relational just had such power. I heard a
Hmm.
quote from Jim Wilder yesterday in a podcast. He said he said when you practice um, being when you practice staying relational in the midst of being upset, like angry, sad, ashamed, whatever, um, when you can stay relational with another person, that becomes capital invested back into that friendship or that marriage or that whatever or that church. So I think that is a good like. I think that is what happened. It was
Yeah.
like a poop storm, but but it became capital invested back in. Anyway, any final thoughts, reflections?
The other 2020 piece is like the isolation of quarantine and relationships and churches and blah blah blah, and like people not being able to meet, or especially the first couple months where it's like nobody knew how to handle things, and it's like everyone was staying home. Um, I mean, there's points probably where I did feel alone or isolated, but I felt like our relationship was one of the one of the anchors and one of the strong points that through that, where it's like um and we're not even meet we I mean, most of our relationship has been through like the phone, been through video, um and so that tested it even further. And then you like drove across the country, and it was like you're even farther away, so we're definitely never meeting up in person. But it's like the strength of our relationship like wasn't based on any of those normal factors. It was like uh, it was just, yeah, it was. I mean, obviously Jesus was in the middle of it, but it's like us like practicing these rhythms together. um I think created like a foundation that was helpful for me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It was it's weird because I kind of take it for granted, being on 10 months. I think we did like 25,000 miles or something. We did the whole we went all we did a whole circle around the whole country. um and yeah, I probably take it for granted what it would have been like if I wasn't doing CO2 every day. um yeah, definitely anchoring and grounding. It's funny because I hear from other people, like friends that do Church of Two, or some that are doing slightly bigger versions of it, and like all over the world, in like within the Luke 10 community. And they're like crazy people because all this stuff is happening, and they're like sharing these stories of beautiful relationship growth and church growth, and multiplying house churches and things. And they're like it's like nobody knows, because they're not it's not like we're going to defy the government and gather hundreds of people or thousands of people. They're just like secretly building these really vibrant spiritual families and sharing about it in our groups and stuff. And it's just so it's so it's just cool and beautiful and refreshing. So, and we get to do that on this one-to-one scale. Yeah, it's been good, man.
For sure.
We did it. Good work. Here it is. High five.
Zoom
um Zoom 5. All right, so I don't know, I guess that's it. I don't have any cool way to wrap this up. I'll say um I'll say wait, let me find the record button. I'll say that's it.